It was 1994. My daughter stood on the edge of my bed, ready to spring away from that bed into my arms as if she was some kind of superhero. That little girl, Erin, there she was. Get back, Daddy, a little bit more. You know how it is. You take a couple steps back. Not quite that far. A little bit closer. You get closer. No, just a little bit back. I remember it distinctly. That's right. Just right there. Stay right there. Stay right there. And there she is. She squeals as she jumps up in the air like Superman without a cape, like somebody parachuting without a chute. And all she's got in her heart as she soars is trust that her daddy's going to catch her. And here's this canyon between the bed and my arms. But she trusts. She trusts in me. What if I was too weak to catch her? What if I decided I didn't want to catch her? What if I just forgot that she was jumping and I turned my back? What if I decided she wasn't worth catching? She would have fell right to the ground. But she trusted me. She trusted me with her little dear life. And there she was, this little superhero, ready to jump into the sky. What if I was weak? What if I was forgetful? What if I turned my back to her? That would have been cruel. That would have been terrible. What if I forgot about her and I forgot she was jumping and she just tumbled to the floor? She might not trust me again, at least not for jumping off the bed. But the little bit of fear is overcome by her trust, her faith in me. So she jumps and I catch her, and then we do it again and again and again until finally I'm a little wore out and I can't do it anymore. God is the kind of God that stands there before our canyons and He always catches us. He never forgets about us. He never gets weak. He never lets us fall when we want Him to catch us. And we have to trust Him. I'm not as holy as I should be or as strong as I could be, or I'm certainly not as brilliant as I would like to be. But when my child jumps to me, I can still catch her. God is all those things. He is brilliant. He is strong. He's never forgetful. And He's very holy. And He never forgets about us. And more importantly, He loves us more than I could possibly love my daughter, which seems pretty hard to do. But He does. And He catches us. And so there she is. She flies and she soars into the air. And I catch her. And she trusts because I'm faithful. I distinctly remember that week because I stood holding my wife's hand after she had open heart surgery, not certain what would happen to her. She didn't have a father to look at. Her father had passed away. The only thing she had was trust. But trust in a father she couldn't see but yet was there. A father she depended on that was real, even though she couldn't put her hands in His hands like Thomas could. My wife survived her open heart surgery, and we all breathed a breath of air. But she held on to my hand which is weak and not always faithful. But there we were. God's hands are always strong, aren't they? He never gives up. That same week, I distinctly remember going into the Rock Road prison and meeting with a guy that was facing execution. Not right away, but down the line he would face it. And he would die. And I remember visiting with him, and there he was. But with the same trust. Not a whole lot different than my daughter or my wife. Just ended up in a different circumstance. Ended up doing something horrible to somebody else. But nonetheless, very repentant, and nonetheless, very trusting on his Maker. And there he would go, and he would soar, he would fly. And he had confidence that one of these days God would catch him, that Jesus will come. That same week, I stood next to another bed of a dying person in West Palm Beach. And this room was really solemn. They were pumping air into this young lady's body, and you heard the monotone of the monitors, and her parents were there. And just like Aaron, and just like this man who was facing death, just like my wife, this little girl also faced death. And she had that strong faith. I distinctly remember that week, 1994. We actually lived in Sarasota at the time, and it was a real stunner that my wife had to have open heart surgery, and that she probably wasn't going to live if she didn't have the surgery. And we're thankful that each of us can trust in God. And it doesn't always turn out the way we hoped it would. Fortunately, I didn't drop Aaron. Fortunately, the surgery worked for my wife. Fortunately, Kelly's surgery was successful. Fortunately, the prisoner had his faith in God. So ultimately, what really matters is our faith and our trust in God. I read a text when my first Sabbath I was here. I'm sure none of you remember it, but it's Proverbs 17, verse 24. And it says there, a discerning man keeps wisdom in his view, or it's right in front of him, or his understanding is right there, but the eyes of the fool, they're on the ends of the earth. You remember that? Because the fool's always thinking that there's going to be more time in the future, there's going to be more time to serve, there's going to be more time in the future to be honest and to study and to exercise and go on a diet in the future, but not right now. But he's a fool, isn't he? The second thing I didn't say, the reason I believe that passage is there in Proverbs, is to also say that the fool's eyes are on the ends of the earth, because he doesn't realize that tomorrow may not be brighter. It may not be better. In fact, it may be worse than it is now. Ultimately, for the believer, it will be wonderful. But in this life, you don't know what tomorrow holds. You just don't. Don't think you do, because you don't. Only God knows that. We mourn the life of Jewel, Kay's mom, who just passed away. And who knew she would pass away? Certainly not Kay, certainly not her daughters, certainly none of us. And she's gone to this day. You just don't know. That's why today salvation comes to our house. That's why we only have today. I'm preaching, as those of you who have attended the last couple Sabbaths, on the Ten Commandments, and we're up to the fourth, and which of course is about resting. And I decided to give the Ten Commandments a rest for a Sabbath, and we'll get back to it. But I was so impressed by some of you all in this church who have strong faith in God. Without faith, we have nothing. You know, there's three things we have in this world. We have our faith, and we have our friends. You know, we have those. We have faith, and we have our friends in this life. That's pretty much it that we can depend on, is our faith and our friends. Someone told me one time that if you have a couple good friends, when you die, you're richly blessed. And I thought to myself, oh, man, I got lots of friends. I got so many friends. What are they talking about, two good friends? I got tons of friends. But there's a lot of truth in that, isn't there? As you get older, if you have a few good friends that you can trust in this life, you are really richly blessed. We need friends. We need our faith. Those are at least two things that you and I need. And we don't have to worry about tomorrow. Jesus said, there's enough worry about tomorrow. There's enough evil for tomorrow. Concentrate on just living one day at a time. My daughter had no fear of jumping. She just trusted me. And she trusted me because she never experienced me dropping her. But for those of you who have lived a long time, you experience getting dropped occasionally. You experience disappointment. It just happens, doesn't it? You experience sin. It just happens in life. And that's why we have to have forgiveness. And that's the other F, by the way, friends, family, and forgiveness. That's something all of us have to have. I distinctly remember I finished seminary, and I'm not the most brilliant person, I'll admit it, and I'm not the highest grades around, but I had a professor, Gerhard Hazel, that always kind of took an interest in me when I was going through seminary. It's good for someone to care about you, and I, who up to that date was the youngest person that graduated with a Master's of Divinity from Andrews, kind of took me under his wing because I didn't even look like a college student. I looked more like a high school kid, I think. And he was always there for me, that guy. He taught Old Testament theology. Maybe some of you have heard of him, read his books. He's John Pearson probably knows him. He was just a wonderful person. But yet he was my professor, not a friend. But after I finished seminary, he'd call me about once every year, and he'd say, so when are you going to sign up for a doctoral ministry? Oh, I can't do that. I'm not smart enough to do that. And every year he'd call me. After about 5 or 6 years of that, I finally relented, and I gave in. I said, okay, I'll do it. So I signed up for the doctorate of ministry, and I thought, well, that would be pretty neat. You put a doctor behind my name. Not MD, but, that would be kind of nice to have that, and it would give me the opportunity of studying. So I started on my way with his figurative arm around me and started working on my doctorate. And I went to an intensive at Southern College, and it was all MA students. I was the only D-Min student, and Gerhard was teaching it. And he just kept encouraging me. He said, you could do this. You could do this. We need people to get this. Man, all the books you've assigned me, Gerhard, come on. I'm a pastor. I can't do all this. And he just kept on pushing me on. And I distinctly remember sitting outside one of the administration buildings there at Southern College and sitting on the grass, and he was just talking to me, not as a professor, but just as a friend. You all, I don't know if any of you know who Gerhard Hazel is, but probably not if you've never gone to seminary. Maybe, I think maybe one or two of you might, but I'll never forget that, And just a few weeks after that, he was killed in a car accident. I was so disappointed, so discouraged, so depressed. And here was this guy who took an interest in me and thought I could do better than I could ever do. He thought of me greater than I thought of myself. And when you lose somebody like that, who's kind of a mentor, somebody that is the one on the other side of the bed that wants to catch you when you take off and soar, and you lose that person, it's a hard go, isn't it? And for all of you who are a little bit up there in age, you've had those hard goes. You've had those times, those circumstances where someone has turned their back on you, or somebody who you love doesn't love you back. That's a hard one to swallow, isn't it? That's almost worse than death. Or you do lose a loved one, or you lose that job, or you don't get that promotion, or something happens to you in life, and it just doesn't work out, thank you, Tanisha, as well as you thought it would. That's life, isn't it? And that's why you and I have to trust. We have to have faith. We have to be like that guy in the prison that's going to die because you and I are indeed dying of our sins. Oh, you didn't probably murder somebody, but nonetheless, you were born with it. You inherit it. You didn't have a choice. We're all in it together, aren't we? It's one big bowl. No matter what religion you are, you're a sinner, hopefully saved by grace. And we have to have faith to get through this world's trials. We have to. And we have to stand on that corner of the bed and be able to soar and not get down so much that we're just going to give up. And that's the easy thing to do, isn't it? It's easy for us to have pity parties. Say, oh, me, I lost my friend or lost my wife. And it's okay to have a little catharsis in life, but, faith is more important. Going forward and being the kind of unique individuals that God has created us to be is far more important than experiencing pity for ourselves. That's why we have to have faith. We have to trust in that hand we cannot see. Thomas was told, Thomas, you can see me. You could put your hand in my hand. But blessed are those that cannot see. And yet they still believe. Blessed are those when, everything is going wrong. Everything is going wrong. And you still hold on for dear life. And you know that in the end, God is there. You're going to hold on to that rope. You're not going to give up easily. You're going to trust in that hand that is there for you and for me. A discerning man, the proverb says, keeps wisdom in view. In other words, we have today, you and I have this Sabbath. It's the 24th, I think. Isn't that amazing? It's the 24th of October. Whew. I mean, I just can't believe that this year has just zipped by this quickly. And it's going to be gone before we know it. And you don't have tomorrow. I think I can almost preach that every single Sabbath if we could just get it through our heads that we don't have tomorrow. We have today, and that's it. But somehow we're brainwashed that any tomorrow is better than any today. Somehow we're told by the devil that if you just take this and eat it, there will be better days tomorrow. You'll be like God, good and evil. We're convinced by him that, when we get this bill paid, we'll feel better, or when we get this cancer out of our system, we'll be healthier, or when we solve this problem, or we get over this depression, or when we get over this or that, or where we buy that. Have you ever got caught up in that? I distinctly remember growing up and being a little kid and wanting a Swin Traveler. It was gold. It was 3 speeds. It had one of those little generators on the back. And I saved, I collected soda pop bottles. They were worth 2 cents. And the milk bottles were worth a quarter. And the beer bottles were worth a nickel. Unfortunately, it was a little ways from us, but there was a car wash. And I don't know what it is about people that work at car washes, but it seemed like the ones that worked at this car wash drank an awful lot of beer. And I was just as tickled to death because I get 5 cents a pop bottle. And I would save my bottles, soda, milk bottles, any kind of bottles, any kind of glass. And finally I had the $72.88, I think it was, with the tax. And I was going to go down and buy my Schwinn Traveler, that gold bike with the chrome fenders, 3 speeds it had. I was even going to try to save up enough money for the little speedometer that went on it. And it consumed me. That's all I could think about. I couldn't do my homework. I couldn't go sleep at night. When I got closer to the $72, I couldn't wait. Well, it was wintertime by the time I saved up enough money to buy the thing. And obviously you can't ride a bike in Chicago in the wintertime. And I was pretty disappointed. And my dad said, well, why don't you wait until summer to buy it? Oh, no, Dad, I want it here. I want to see it. I want it here. I want to hold it. I want it in my room. I want it now, Well, you know what happened? I ended up getting it for Christmas that year. And my dad told me, now you got to save the $72. You can't spend it. So that was the deal. And it was a real blessing. So sometimes in our life we get the bike. We get the guy. We get the girl. We get the education. We get the house. We get all that stuff. But so often we get it and we find that things of this world only bring an illusion to our lives, that it doesn't add to our faith. It doesn't really make us happier. It doesn't make us more content. It certainly doesn't make us better people. It's all a deception, but the fool's eyes are on the future. But the person who has wisdom, the person who has faith, in other words, the person who trusts in God totally, to that person, they have happiness. But the eyes of the fool are on the ends of the earth. Let's not be that fool. Let's keep the commandments of God each day. There are promises to us that if we'll have faith in God, we actually keep those commandments. It's pretty hard to have faith in God and steal or kill or lie or bear false witness or curse when you have faith in God. And you can only do it one day at a time. The day was so significant to Christ. It was to the angels too. Give us this day our daily bread. Unto you this day is born a Savior. Today, Paul says, if it's still today, salvation has come to your house, he told Zacchaeus. The Bible's full of todays, but not too much about tomorrow, except the coming of Christ. And when you think about the coming of Christ, is Christ coming tomorrow? He's coming today. When he comes, it will be today. When Jesus comes, we're not going to go running around say, hey, he came tomorrow. That doesn't make sense, does it? And it doesn't make sense. But somehow we're convinced that it's going to be so much better in the future, so much time. It's going to be so great in the future. And it will be when Jesus comes. But right now we need to live one day at a time and do the very, very best we can today. This Sabbath, 24th of October, let's do the best we can today. Let's have happiness today. Let's not worry about tomorrow, bills that have to be paid or the prescriptions that's got to be filled or whatever it is in your life. Of course, I'm always reflecting for my own life, which is a little unfair. But you have your own reflections of things that you want to see happen in the future. But whatever it is, don't let that eclipse today. We have each other today. This is all we got. We have today. I'm missing my wife tremendously today. My little grandson is running a high temperature, and I'm assuming they took him in. He just got the flu or something, but it was getting kind of hot last night, his little body, and I feel so bad for him. And I miss her today, and it's good to miss people that we love one day at a time. It's good to make sure that we don't take and we don't presume someone's love. When's the last time you said to your spouse, if you're married, I love you, and meant it? When's the last time you did something for your spouse that really made a difference? Sometimes being cheap is awfully expensive. Have you ever found that, men? Sometimes it doesn't pay off. You know, we need to lavish upon those we love, don't we? Whatever it is, we need to take care of people we love, because that is all you and I have. We have nothing else, really. Oh, we have a few things in this world, but they really, really have no meaning to speak of. You know, we have forgiveness of sins, we have our faith, and we have our friends, our family. Hey, that's 4 F's, isn't it? So maybe I should come up with a sermon, the 4 F's of life. Well, God bless you, and I hope this day you live for today. Let's keep in mind to live one day at a time. You know, we use that phrase for alcoholics or drug addicts or whatever. I think we should use it for Seventh-day Adventist Christians. I think we should apply it to us as well. Live one day at a time the very best you can. And you will find the days of happiness before your feet if you just walk in line with Christ. There's no doubt about it. God is so good, and He just can't wait to lavish us this day. When we walk out of here, look at the shining sunshine and the white clouds and the bluing of the skies and the greening of the grass, and see how verdant it is and how beautiful it is. And so often we just don't even think about all the blessings of God. You know, like that mole I talked about that lives in the earth. You know, he's not happy at all. You know, we need to live above the earth, don't we? We need to enjoy life as it is. I was thinking a little bit about Kelly. Somebody said to me, well, you know, Pastor, I think you should tell Kelly to slow down a little bit and not work so much at the thrift store. He's going to have a heart attack there or something. I thought to myself, man, that's what I'd like to do. What a great thing to do. Working for the church and having a heart attack. Do I want to be in bed and have a heart attack? I want to watch Oprah and have a heart attack? You know? Do I want to have a heart attack just laying around, getting morphine drip in my veins? I want to be used for the Lord right down to the last minute. I think that's the way to live, you know? Let's live for God. And maybe we shouldn't take each other so seriously, but we should take God seriously and His Word seriously. We're going to sing a song together, and then I just got a little business to take care of, and then if you just hang on for a few minutes after our song, and then we'll dismiss.